Do you all remember the Tamla Horsford case? She was the only Black woman at an all-white overnight, I have to emphasize that one, overnight birthday party who ended up dead in the backyard. Anybody remember that case? This took place back on November 4th, 2018. Some of you may recall this happening. Some of you, this may be your first time hearing it. In any case, I'm going to give a brief synopsis on this. I'm going to be pointing out some key details that stood out for me, and some other events surrounding her case. I'm also going to point out hypocrisies and lies that also stood out to me. This is not going to be a deep dive. I'm not going to go into all of the party goers, their statements they made to the police, their roles in this. I'm not going to do that. I'm simply going to give a overview and again a brief synopsis on what has stood out to me. What I feel deserves attention in this case. Also, not only does Tamla's case deserve to be reignited, not only does her family deserve answers, because there's still a lot of unanswered questions in this case. Not only do they deserve the truth about the events that led to her demise, but this case also serves as a cautionary tale of what can unfold when you do not understand the difference between being invited and being welcomed. Okay? Tamla Horsford, at the time of her death, was a 40-year-old Black woman, a wife, a mother of 5 boys, right? Who was invited to a slumber party to celebrate the birthday of a chick named John Myers. Okay. Also, the home where the party was being held was John Myers' home. John Myers was the homeowner. Tamla and John, both of their sons played youth football together. So that's how they became acquainted, right? Tamla knew some of the women also that were there because their children shared the same classes in school and also played on the same sports teams together. So that's how she knew some of the other women there. The other women and men she did not know at all. So to me, that's very strange as well, that this was an overnight birthday party and she didn't even know some of the people there, that she would be closing her eyes and going to sleep around these people. What strikes a chord with many people concerning this case is that Tamla was the only Black attendee at this overnight party, right? So it was Tamla, and then it was the other party goers, which included 10 women and 2 men. Men, that's another strange dimension to this case. What are men doing at an overnight party for a woman's birthday? Very, very, very strange. So 10 white women and 2 white men. Okay. So on the night of November 4th, 2018, they were doing what adults do at parties. They were partying, they drinking, smoking, socializing, typical adult activity at a party, right? The whole slumber party thing to me, especially with men present, is very bizarre. That's not my cup of tea. That's not a lot of people's cup of tea that I know. You know what I mean? And it makes me wonder, too, if Tamla even knew they would be there. Because, see, these type of chicks that she were around, very sneaky. They're the type of chicks, they're not going to really tell you who's going to be at the party, who's going to be at the shindig, the get-together, until you get there. So it makes me wonder if Tamla found out after the fact, after she arrived, that these men would be there. I don't know. That wasn't a thing that was ever brought up. Just makes me wonder, right? And I'm definitely not doing an overnight party anywhere, especially if I'm the only Black person in the room. That's definitely not happening. Anyway, they partied and then they allegedly, supposedly all went to bed at the same time. Another strange occurrence. Who goes to bed at the same time at a party? That don't even sound right. Right? So they claim, after they partied, they all went to bed except for Tamla because she had wanted to get something to eat and then smoke a cigarette and then go to bed. Unfortunately, Tamla did not make it to bed. The very next morning, John Myers' her aunt lived there in the home. She found Tamla in the backyard, face down in the grass, unresponsive, right? After she found Tamla, she then ran upstairs or wherever Jean was at. She told Jean, her niece, that she had found Tamla lying lifeless in the backyard. Jean and her boyfriend called 911, right? The dispatcher is asking them questions, what happened and such. And so Jean says, quote, I'm guessing maybe she fell off the balcony. That's what Jean said. And of course, the police and the EMT arrived at the scene shortly after the 911 phone call, and that's when Tamla was pronounced dead. If you listen to the 911 call, right, and the police interviews, there were so many inconsistencies, it's not even funny. So many inconsistencies. I mean, chicks were laughing. I mean, just very nonchalant. It was so clear. It was so evident what's going on here. The police interviews, it was strange. It was very strange. There were many inconsistencies. And I'll say this, if you're honest, if you're an honest person, and if you are a critical thinker, it would also be crystal clear to you as well that these women and men covered up the events that led to Tamla's untimely demise on that evening. Now, here is where I'm going to go over the strange occurrences and the statements from police interviews that stood out for me, that raised my eyebrow, that had me looking at this whole case sideways, right? A lot of people, let me say this really quick, a lot of people have used their platforms to shed light on this case, and I am so grateful that they have, right? And I'm sure that Tamla's spirit is grateful as well as her loved ones. So a lot of people have and are still using their platforms to shed light and to keep this going, right? Keep feet on neck, right? And expose these people in this case, these people that Tamla was around. And now I'm one of the people that are doing the same thing. Because again, this case truly confirms that Tamla Horsford was invited but not welcomed. Clearly. Number one, is it me or is Tamla the only one in the picture in pajamas? The picture on the thumbnail. Is it me? I tried to zoom in on the picture. I couldn't really tell if some of the other chicks there that were sitting on that sectional with her, if they had on pajamas. It did not appear to me, right? I wear contacts, so help me out, y'all. Is Tamla the only one in the picture in pajamas? And I'll say this. She appeared to be content and relaxed around these women. Just looking at her facial expression, she even appeared honored to be in the presence of these women. Okay? This is not a shot at Tamla's character. I'm just observing what I see from the picture. We have to be honest and we have to look at everything when we're trying to solve an unsolved mystery, right? This is what they're calling her case. They're calling it a mysterious case. So I have to look at everything for what it is. She seemed to be extremely content, extremely comfortable and relaxed around women that did, a bunch of them, women that did not look like her. And she even appeared honored to be in their presence. Okay? It makes me wonder, rest in peace, Tamla. Let me just say that, right? It makes me wonder the types of relationships that she had with other Black women, right? There's almost a childlike innocence, a naive quality in her facial expression, in her body language, in that picture on that sectional sofa, right? Meanwhile, the other chicks around her, they look hardened, sinister, and grimy, right? She's looking, happy, content, very naive. Meanwhile, they look hardened, sinister, slimy, and grimy. Every last one of them. The smiles don't mean anything. They looked sinister, slimy, and grimy. And it just looks like Tamla she didn't see what was coming. She could not see these chicks coming. And the men. the men are not in the picture, but she could not see any of these people that she chose to be around and even close her eyes and go to sleep around. Some of them that she never even met before. She did not expect, nor did she suspect, that anything would go awry at this party or that she would end up face down in the grass, unresponsive, life sucked out of her like that, right? Another thing that I've gathered is how they all seemed irritated and offended by Tamla bringing an expensive bottle of authentic tequila to the party. Mind you, this bottle of tequila that Tamla brought to the party, it was a gift for Jean. Jean even admitted this in her interview. Jean said, yeah, the tequila that Tamla brought, it was a gift for me. It was a birthday gift. But I'm not a tequila drinker. I'm not a tequila girl. And actually, when she opened the bottle, it made me nauseous. This is what Jean said. And she said it in a very condescending, passive aggressive way. Right? So Tamla bringing this expensive, authentic tequila from her trip in Mexico, that also tells me, unfortunately, how badly and desperately Tamla wanted to fit in with these people and gain their acceptance and gain their friendship. Again, this is my opinion. This is coming from my perspective. No one has to agree with what I'm saying. You can see it a different way. This is what I see. This is what I see from this. And all of these party goers in their interviews, they just kept harping. They went on and on and on about her bringing this tequila. I mean, it bothered them. It was almost as if they were appalled. Who did this black think she is coming in here with this expensive bottle of tequila from Mexico while we in here drinking bottom shelf liquor and popping Xannies? That's what they was giving. That's exactly the type of energy that they were giving. They were jealous. They were envious and appalled by Tamla bringing this authentic tequila back from Mexico while they up there drinking bottom shelf liquor and popping Xannies, aka Xanax. Right? When they were questioned by police, they subtly and passive aggressively painted Tamla as a lush. They did. They painted her as a lush and a chain smoker. They kept saying that she brought her own bottle of tequila, right? Like I said earlier, when the chick Jean said out of her own mouth that it was a birthday gift for her, right? They were standing on this. They were just extremely offended. This was one of the main gripes they had in the interviews was Tamla bringing this bottle of tequila. This is how bold they were in their audacity, right? They did not like this woman. They did not like this woman. And unfortunately, Tamla could not pick up on it. Tamla was not exercising. Tamla was not exercising discernment. They kept harping on this. Tamla didn't bring that bottle of tequila so she can guzzle it down by herself. But this is what they painted. This is the picture that they painted. This is the narrative that they crafted. They passive aggressively, this just, oh my God, because I'm just thinking back on experiences that I've had, you know what I mean, in my lifetime with these people that operate on this frequency. So pardon my passionate expression while I'm speaking on this. These people passive aggressively painted Tamla as someone who overindulged, which would justify and account for her supposed accidental fall from the balcony. That is what they were alluding to. That is the underlay for the overplay. That's what that's called. That's the 52 fake out game that these chicks were running, are running to this day. Underlay for the overplay. Paint Tamla out to be a lush and a chronic smoker, which justifies and accounts for her repeatedly and constantly going out to the balcony to smoke. And that's how she ended up falling accidentally off the deck. Please. These people are so see-through. When you understand what's really going on here, when you have your thinking cap on, right? When you could put your feelings to the side, when you could be an adult and understand that racism is still a thing, then you can see exactly what went on here with Tamla and how she ended up in the position that she ended up in, right? One of the partygoers also said, upon Tamla's immediate arrival, that Tamla hopped in one of the women's laps. What she was doing was alluding to Tamla displaying erratic, overzealous behavior. That's what she was doing, right? It's so easy to see through. Again, when you understand the type of games that these people play, where they're coming from, it's so easy to see through their nonsense, right? And unless that was on video, it's their word against Tamla's, unfortunately. So, yeah, Tamla was around people who did not like her. They did not want her there at all. They did not. They didn't. They did not like her. It didn't matter if their children, played in the youth football leagues together and they shared the same classes and teachers. They didn't care about none of that. None of it. They did not like Tamla at all because she was a black woman. Period. And those men that were there. These chicks, these are your soccer mom types, right? Who on the outside looking in, they're living the perfect cookie cutter, ideal, modern American lifestyles, right? Where they appear to be thriving. They appear to thrive in these suburban subdivisions. Some of them cul-de-sacs, right? Who are functioning alcoholics because this is what's really going on behind these gated communities with these manicured lawns, right? These arch floor to ceiling windows. These are functioning alcoholics and pill poppers. And their pills of choice are Xanax and Vicodin. I know. Oh my goodness. I'm telling y'all, I've seen some things. And I've been around, had some experiences. These are the type of chicks, their pills of choice, these soccer mom types, are Xanax and Vicodin. That's how they stay afloat. And they're doing this because a lot of these women are bored and miserable. And because they are bored and miserable, that alone makes it easy for them to practice anti-black racism. I know what I'm talking about. Seen it. Seen it. Day in and day out. They're driving these kids that they can't stand. They can't stand the kids and the kids can't stand them. Driving these kids around, they can't. Kids get on their nerves and they get on the kids' nerves. Driving these kids to one extracurricular activity and soccer practice to the next. With wine in their travel mug, dropping kids off at the school and at the activities, and then vodka in that same travel mug when they picking them up. Seen it. I seen it. Seen it. This is why you don't want to be envious. You don't want to be envious of other people's lifestyles, what you think they have, how you think they feel. Child, these people are miserable. Miserable, a lot of, not all of them, but a lot of, especially these type of chicks that Tamla surrounded themselves around. And so another thing that stood out to me was the card game that they played, Cards of Humanity, which according to people who play this game and who have played this game, it requires players to have a dark sense of humor, right? You have to have a level of dark sense of humor and an open mind to play this game, right? So couple that with alcohol and any other drugs that were there. They already said that marijuana was there. There was Xanax and any other drugs that may not have been reported. Couple all of that with the possibility of someone getting offended and angry by Tamla's responses, or becoming angry and offended by Tamla becoming angry and offended by possible racist remarks, right? This is a card game. This is an adult card game that's best played while under the influence of alcohol or any other drug that requires you to have a dark sense of humor. So just, yeah, you connect the dots on that, right? There are just so many unanswered questions and inconsistencies with the interviews, the police interviews, and all of the statements, the investigative reports. Well, I mean, there's just so many inconsistencies and unanswered questions. One of them was from Jean's boyfriend, Jose Barrera, right? Jose Barrera, Jean's boyfriend. This is the one who was on the phone with her when they dialed 911, right? Both of them initially admitted finding Tamla with both arms at her side in the backyard, face down, lying in the grass, unresponsive, right? The boyfriend, Jose, then admits to a cop that he moved her left arm to check for a pulse. So they initially stated that they found her with both arms at her side. Then he comes back and says, well, you know what? I did move her left arm to check for a pulse. Okay, cool. Then he later denies that, saying he never moved her arm. So he's a liar. His girlfriend is a liar. And the rest of those degenerates at the party are liars, right? Which is why many of us are still to this day calling foul play. And this is why it's important for people who have platforms to continue to revisit and reignite this case, right? And this is so sad because it's so many. It's many of them. There's so many of them. What's also questionable is the fact that the crime scene was not preserved, right? And even before the autopsy report came back, the sheriff's office, Forsyth County Sheriff's Office, they were already leaning towards ruling Tamla's death an accident, right? That's strange. Isn't that strange? Why would they prepare a ruling before the medical examiner provided a final autopsy report? That's moving backwards. But not for them. Not for them. Not for these people. That tells us that we are dealing with people. These types of people in this type of town, Cummings, Georgia, and Forsyth County, Georgia, right? They are all in cahoots when it comes to harming Black people. Period. All of them. Why are you leaning towards an accidental death ruling when you have not even looked at the medical examiner's report, autopsy report? They were just ready to shut it down, right? Everyone involved, from the party goers, the people at the house party, Forsyth County Sheriff's Office, the medical examiner, right? The deputy coroner, the judges, the DAs, and the lawyers. All of them are in cahoots to this day in covering up this woman's death. All of them. This is their culture, and they're going to continue to uphold it proudly. This is what people need to understand. This is their culture, meaning this is their way of life. And they are going to continue to uphold it proudly. Proudly. We're talking about a sundown town here, right? Cummings, Georgia, Forsyth County, Georgia. This is a sundown town that is rooted in anti-Black racism. Look it up. Look it up. Take you less than 5 minutes. Look it up. This is their religion and culture, right? Where not too long ago in 1912, there was a racial cleansing that included mass lynchings, right? Lynchings, harassment, and all manner of intimidation and race-based violence against Black residents in this county, where more than 1,000 Black residents were driven out, intimidated out, threatened out of that area. And ever since, it has been mainly all white since it was incorporated as a city. All white. They don't like Black people. Period. They do not like Black people. And you know what's crazy about this? That's just one town out of plenty in this country. That's just one. That is, they do not like black people. Even the nice old ladies down at the church, even the pastor at the church, even the teachers at the kids' schools, all of them. They were all taught to practice anti-black racism. And frankly, it's encoded in their DNA, if you ask me. It's also reported that some of the individuals at the party are friends with people in law enforcement, right? One of whom was the coroner at the time of Tamla's death. This guy actually leaked photos of himself posing with mammy dolls. I mean, they're putting it in your face. It's in your face. They're all in bed together. Simple as that. In that town, from the top down, all in bed together, right? So not only was Tamla Horsford not welcome to this overnight birthday party where everyone was white, she was not welcomed in Forsyth County, Georgia. She was not welcomed. Her husband, or her children. They were not welcomed. Simple as that. Simple as that. A smiling face, a few nice words, some small talk. You know, your children attending the same classes together. Y'all going to the same church together. Your children are friends with each other. A formal or informal invitation to any event. None of these things mean anything because they don't want you there. Get out. Seriously, right? So, we don't know if Tamla's loved ones will ever get the answers and the closure that they're seeking and that they deserve. We just don't know. I hope they do. I hope they do. But this is yet another situation where discernment and situational awareness are crucial because they can literally save your life. Literally. Understanding the difference between invited and welcomed can literally save your life. And I'm also certain that there were red flags. Oh, yeah. That jumped out about these chicks that Tamla associated with. Oh, I'm almost certain. These types of people, they can't help it. They can't, they couldn't believe that Tamla even had the audacity to be there. You know what I mean? To be there in their town. Oh, I just know those red flags was jumping. Oh yeah. Passive aggressive comments, quick cold glances and facial expressions while they were at the children's games together or at other school events, PTA meetings, whatever, down at the church, all of that, at the grocery store. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And oftentimes these are subtle displays, of contempt that you have to be able to pick up on immediately. Because nonverbal communication oftentimes gives you the most accurate reading on someone's intentions and what they're attempting to conceal. People with ill intentions, they can't wait to lure you outside of your comfort zone, right? To trick you out of your position so that they can start an argument or a fight with you or whatever. It's a way to catch you off guard so that you can't think clearly. So you just have to be extremely mindful and extremely vigilant. And you have to be honest with yourself. You have to be real with yourself and keep your thinking cap on. And you also have to learn how to detach from your emotions and accept things for what they are. That's a major thing. Pretending that these people aren't racist, pretending that, oh, I'm in America, oh it's all good. Pretending is very dangerous because you're ignoring what is. You do not have the courage or the wherewithal to accept what is, and therefore that can spell the difference between you living your life or death, right? So, invited does not mean welcomed. Two different things, babe. The right information when applied, it can not only change your life, but save it.